Hi, does your left hand feel heavy, sluggish, maybe a bit tired when you play? If so, then this video is for you. Let's dive in. Well, I think we'd all agree that playing the fiddle is hard enough, and we need facility and agility to play the violin well. We need to travel around the fingerboard quickly and easily and efficiently. So anything that gets in the way of that has got to be a bad idea. And one idea that I meet from time to time is that we need to hammer the fingers down onto the fingerboard. Somehow that makes it a little bit more articulate, maybe. Well, I'm not so sure I believe in that. Let me explain why. So really, when we put a finger down, all we're doing is stopping or shortening the resonating length of the string. So if we play an open string, the resonating length is from the bridge down to the nut. And by putting a finger anywhere on the fingerboard, we are stopping the string. We're making the string shorter. So that resonating length is shorter, which makes the pitch higher, and vice versa. Now, once the string is stopped, in other words, the note sounds cleanly, we can't then extra stop the note. Once the string's actually down on the fingerboard, it doesn't matter how much pressure we add, it's not going to make any difference. It's a little bit like hammering a nail in. Once it's hammered in, it doesn't matter how much you hammer it anymore, it can't go any further in if it's already in at its maximum. So I'd like to introduce to you the idea of just how little weight or pressure, whichever word you prefer to use, is actually required to stop the string. Let's take a look. What I'd like you to do is let's take a third finger, and we're going to use an artificial harmonic. It doesn't matter if you've not come across it before, but these are great things. So what we're going to do is take the third finger on the A string, and so we're going to play a D. Now, if we very lightly touch the string, we get a harmonic. And what I want you to do is carry on playing that harmonic, and ever so slowly press the finger down until you hear the note change to a full D. It's hardly anything. And I'll show you from the reverse angle what that looks like. What I like. So you see, hardly any weight or pressure is required to stop the string. Any more, it's pointless. And think about it this way, there's certain laws of the universe. If I press down with any force, any weight, I need to equalise that by pushing up, otherwise the fiddle's just going to keep dropping down. Check out my other video about gripping the instrument. If I grip with the thumb, that means I have to press with the thumb this way. Well, the fiddle's just going to swing round. So in other words, I need to press equally this way. Otherwise, the fiddle's going to swing backwards. So we end up with this ridiculous situation of gripping and pressing north, south, east and west just to keep the fiddle still. But guess what? It'll stay still of its own accord in any case. So that leaves us free to have facility up and down the horizontal plane, up and down the fingerboard. And so now is probably a good time to dispel some myths about having calluses on the finger ends. Yeah, I've been there as well. With calluses, and wow, what a smoky Joe I was, proved that somehow I got some medal of honour that I've practiced, and everyone points their fingers at youth orchestra and college, says, hey, that Andy's been practicing. Well, okay, you don't get calluses by not practicing, So yeah, I was practicing. But it doesn't mean it was good practice. It doesn't mean I was practicing efficiently. And calluses are a bad idea. One thing that I saw on a program, which was actually quite incredible, was if we scaled up our finger end to the size of the earth. Our fingers are so sensitive that we would still be able to distinguish between something the size of a house and a car. Isn't that quite amazing? So this feeling, these finger ends, we need to value, we measure, and we feel what the string is like under the finger. If you've got a thick callus on the end, well, I'm sorry, you can't feel anything. So it just really does mean that you're probably not, dare I say, you maybe not practicing as well as you're not allowing yourself to be the player you could be. Let's put it that way. Okay, so one thing we do need is to play clearly and with clean articulation. And we can do that by using the weight of the finger itself without extra pressing. Let me show you how. And you need to be free from these bass knuckles. And I want you to imagine that you're touching a hot plate. So let's let's keep the first finger down. And let's flick down the third finger. As though I'm touching something very hot. So it's one rapid movement. And you can hear a very clean distinction. I promise you, I'm not pressing, I'm not hammering. This is hammering. And you hear that timpani percussion accompaniment. Don't need it. Let's do it with the second finger. But what I am doing, I'm being free to move from my fingers, from the knuckles down here. These bass knuckles. So it's all about hand shape as well. I've made a video, check it out, about how to find a good hand frame by using harmonics again, from using the fourth finger and building backwards. So it's just the weight of the finger dropping onto the string that makes a clean articulation. Obviously, this has a big impact on vibrato. If we are pressing hard, once we've stopped the string, we're pressing downwards, that means that it's difficult to move or to shift laterally. So again, with the dropping of the fingers, you can drop straight into a nice vibrato. Because I'm not seizing the neck, not gripping. So let me show you how I'd go about practicing this idea of light fingers. I would take something basic. Let's use Kreutzer 2 again. Again, from our last video, we spoke about bowing, but again, it's a great template. These Kreutzer studies are fantastic. You don't necessarily have to play how they're written. Use them as a template, something to superimpose a problem onto. So although Kreutzer 2 is mainly known as a bowing study, let's use it for the left hand. And particularly since I think most people are familiar with it. And what I'm going to do, and this is actually quite a tricky thing to do, is I'm going to play it without any tension or pressure of my fingers in the left hand. And it should sound awful. It should sound what I call white noise, a bit like when in the old days when your telly went off at night, in the days where we didn't have 24-hour TV. but I shouldn't hear a stopped note. This is quite tricky to do, so let me try for you. And that's why good practice shouldn't sound good. If it sounds bad, like that did, you're onto a winner. Let's do it again, and let's introduce a little more finger weight. See what happens. Already, one or two of the notes are starting to be recognisable as a proper pitch. And this way, I learn just how little downward force we need. Give it a go. Once you've done that, I'll show you some walkovers, as I call them. Okay, so I call this next exercise walkovers because my fingers are going to walk across all four strings. Let me show you from this angle. And again, make a white noise. Let's take first and third fingers again. Little more weight. Now walk across the strings. 1, 3, 1, 3, 1, 3, 1, 3, 1, 3. Let's try 2, 4. And go through each pair of fingers. You could try 1 and 2, you could try 3 and 4, and just check it out and kind of feel the strings, feel what it's like, feel what the strings feel like under your left hand, under your fingers, and that way you'll get more attuned to your fiddle. The more attuned you get, the better in tune you'll end up playing. I really hope this one helps. No calluses, and I'll see you next time.